The noble dedication, fulfilling all aspirations. I bow my head at the feet of all the Buddhas, to the teaching, and to the assembly of fully ordained monks. Blessed Buddhas residing in the inexpressibly many world systems of the 10 directions, and bodhisattva great beings who have entered the higher stages of complete awakening, please pay heed to me. Whatever sins and non-virtuous actions I have committed and accumulated from cyclic existences' undiscoverable beginning, in this life and in other lives, as a householder and as a renunciant, what I have done physically, verbally, and mentally, what I have exhorted others to do, and what I have rejoiced in others doing, what I have done knowingly or unknowingly, intentionally or unintentionally, and what I have remembered or forgotten, what I have done under the influence of desire, under the influence of anger, under the influence of ignorance, under the influence of relationships with those who are not virtuous spiritual friends, under the influence of ignorance, under the influence of place, and under the influence of birth at a particular time, violations of proper ethics, violations of ethical rules, and violations of natural ethics. The faults I have engaged in toward the Buddha, the teaching, the assembly, my father and mother, my abbot, my spiritual master, or other teachers through the 3 kinds of physical wrongdoing, the 4 kinds of verbal wrongdoing, and the 3 kinds of mental wrongdoing, turning sentient beings toward perverted views, creating obstacles for sentient beings engaged in proper practice, dedicating my roots of virtue incorrectly, speaking falsely to a Tathagata, teaching non-Dharma as Dharma, and teaching Dharma as non-Dharma, teaching what is not the Vinaya as the Vinaya, and teaching the Vinaya as not the Vinaya, teaching what is not the path as the path, and teaching what is the path as not the path. That, clouded by whichever obscurations, I gave rise to non-virtuous qualities and did not establish my mind properly in virtue. That, clouded by other obscurations, I was distracted and mentally agitated. All such faults I confess. In whatever ways I was childish, in whatever ways foolish, in whatever ways confused, in whatever ways unwise, and in whatever ways misguided, all such faults I confess as faults. Having confessed those faults as faults, I vow that in the future I will not act in such ways again. Thus I recite a 2nd time, and thus a 3rd time. Again, blessed Buddhas, please pay heed to me. I rejoice that all the Buddhas who formerly were bodhisattvas completely accomplished the 6 perfections, which is to say that they completely and manifestly awakened to unexcelled, perfect, complete enlightenment by means of generosity, ethical discipline, endurance, diligence, meditative absorption, and wisdom. That they turned the wheel of the Dharma, blew the conch of the Dharma, beat the drum of the Dharma, and set ablaze the lamp of the Dharma. That they led the mass of sentient beings to the practice of the Dharma in accordance with the Dharma, and that they taught the methods of the holy Dharma, and I rejoice in the roots of virtue by which the Pratyeka Buddhas realized the state of a Pratyeka Buddha, in the roots of virtue by which the Shravakas realized the state of a Shravaka, realized the 3 knowledges and the 6 super-knowledges, and manifested discernment, the meditative absorptions, the liberations, the meditative concentrations, and the meditative attainments, in the roots of virtue by which sentient beings completely overcome falling into the lower infernal realms of the hells, the realms of animals, and the realm of the Lord of the dead. In their abandoning of the primary afflictions of desire, anger, and ignorance, and the secondary afflictions, in their longevity, health, good complexions, excellent figures, great splendor, great power, high status, great wealth, and great wisdom, in their abandoning of all roots of non-virtue and the possession of all roots of virtue, and in even as little as a single prostration, joining the palms for prayer even a single time, the offering of a single flower, and sentient beings who give rise to just a single moment of faith. In all of these things I rejoice. Supremely pleased I rejoice. I rejoice with rejoicing that is most excellent, supreme, best, perfect, unsurpassed, highest, even higher than the highest, unequaled, equal to the unequaled, matchless and pure, completely pure like the sky. I exhort those who, having understood all of the holy Dharma, know how to delight in the Dharma, how to discern the Dharma, how to generate all roots of virtue, how to protect all beings, and how to nurture and dedicate all good qualities, who know all the thousands of compilations of the Dharma, and all the meditative absorptions, liberations, meditative concentrations, and meditative attainments, who know the vows, the prayers, and the exhaustion of defilements, who know beings' intentions, latent dispositions, temperament, and intrinsic nature, and understand them correctly. Yet who, having that understanding, also know that sentient beings do not delight in instruction, and so remain at ease, rest their minds, and do not teach the Dharma. I exhort them, for the benefit of the many, for the happiness of the many, out of compassion for the world, for the sake of the many masses of beings, and for the benefit and happiness of gods and humans, I entreat them to explain the holy Dharma. I entreat them to turn the wheel of the Dharma. I entreat them to blow the conch of the Dharma. I entreat them to beat the drum of the Dharma. I entreat them to set the lamp of the Dharma ablaze. I entreat them to establish the mass of sentient beings in the practice of the Dharma in accordance with the Dharma. I entreat those who have gained mastery over life, mastery of emanation, mastery of blessing, and mastery of miraculous power, those who have and have not gained mastery of ripening the mass of sentient beings to be trained, who have forsaken life, intending to enter final nirvāṇa, I entreat them. For the benefit of the many, for the happiness of the many, out of compassion for the world, for the sake of the many masses of beings, and for the benefit and happiness of gods and humans, I entreat them to grant the blessing of the conditions for their longevity. I dedicate whatever roots of virtue I have created and accumulated from cyclic existence's undiscoverable beginning, what I have done physically, verbally, and mentally, what I have exhorted others to do, and what I have rejoiced in others doing, meritorious deeds arisen from generosity, meritorious deeds arisen from ethical discipline, meritorious deeds arisen from meditation, and even causing just a single sentient being to give rise to a single moment of faith. All of these I dedicate to all sentient beings. By these roots of virtue, may all the roots of virtue of all sentient beings be completely perfected. Having a long life, health, a good complexion, an excellent figure, great splendor, great power, high status, great wealth, great wisdom, possessions, magic spells, and medicine, encountering virtuous spiritual friends, listening to the holy Dharma, directing the mind appropriately, the practice in accordance with the Dharma, the abandoning of the primary afflictions of desire, anger, and ignorance, as well as the secondary afflictions, completely overcoming falling into the lower infernal realms of the hells, the realms of animals, and the realm of the Lord of the Dead, attaining all the meditative absorptions, liberations, meditative concentrations, and meditative attainments, completely overcoming physical and mental unhappiness, attaining all bliss and happiness, attaining the excellence of the enlightened attributes of the Shravakas, the excellence of the enlightened attributes of the Pratyeka Buddhas, the 10 powers of the Tathagatas, the 4 states of fearlessness, the 4 discernments, the 18 distinctive qualities of a Buddha, great loving kindness, great compassion, great joy, great equanimity, the vanquishing of the latent tendencies, the state of non-forgetfulness, the state of omniscience, the state of the knowledge of all aspects, the state of inexhaustible wisdom, the state of inexhaustible knowledge, the state of inexhaustible courage, the state of inexhaustible merit, the state of the sky treasury, the state of the jewel holder, and the unsurpassed wisdom of omniscience, and whatever mundane and transcendent roots of virtue there are. May all of these come to be for all sentient beings. Whatever fruit there may be from the merit of dedicating my roots of virtue to all sentient beings, by the roots of virtue of having so dedicated them, having completely and manifestly awakened to unexcelled, perfect, complete enlightenment, may I ferry those sentient beings across who have not crossed over. May I liberate those who are not yet liberated. May I give relief to those who are unrelieved. May I cause all those who have not entered nirvāṇa to enter final nirvāṇa, and may I establish them in the realm of ultimate benefit and bliss. Thus I recite a second time, and thus a third time. The noble dedication, fulfilling all aspirations, is concluded.